The harsh winter of 1962, a lesson in family and endurance. Ah, my friends, gather close and lend me your ears, for there is a memory, etched deep within the frozen chambers of my heart, that I have carried with me across the decades like a well-worn keepsake. It was the winter of 1962, a season so merciless, so biting in its cruelty, that even now, when the wind howls outside my window, I can almost hear the echoes of that time, the rattle of the window panes, the crackle of the old stove, and above all, the quiet, enduring strength of a family bound together by love. We lived then in a modest wooden house, its walls thin and weary, the sort of dwelling that seemed forever at the mercy of the elements. When the winds rose, they would slip through the cracks like invisible thieves, stealing away what little warmth the day had granted us. The furnace, a contraption as old as my grandfather's boots, sputtered more often than it glowed, and its flame was but a feeble guardian against the endless cold that pressed against us from every side. Each morning we woke to frost clinging like lace to the inside of the windows, to breath visible in the air, and to the dreadful certainty that the day would ask much of us and give little in return. Our hands cracked, our lips bled, and yet we endured. We endured not because we had mastered the cold, but because we had mastered the art of holding on to each other. When the hour grew late and the darkness of winter settled over the land, we would huddle together in the single room where the fire burned, or rather, flickered. My father would feed the stove with a careful hand, as though coaxing life itself to remain with us, and my mother would spread old quilts and blankets upon the floor, and there, shoulder to shoulder, child to parent, heart to heart, we lay. An entire family curled into one another like pages of the same book. Ah, how warm those nights became! Not because the room was heated, but because we were. A child pressed against his brother, a sister curled against her mother's chest, the steady rise and fall of breathing, the occasional snore from my father. All of it became a lullaby. We were a human hearth, and in that embrace the cold dared not claim us. There were moments, too, of gentle music. My mother, her voice trembling like a candle flame in a draught, would sing hymns and lullabies. I remember her voice most in the dark, when the world outside was brittle and silent. Her song carried not just melody, but reassurance, telling us in a language older than words that, as long as we were together, no winter could undo us. One morning, I awoke to find the world outside buried in white. Snow lay so thick upon the roof that the rafters groaned beneath its weight. The trees were cloaked in silence, the wires of the telephone poles frozen stiff, and the roads, those lifelines of the town, vanished beneath mountains of snow. There was no electricity, no hum of modern comfort, no flame in the stove but the embers of last night's fire. And yet, there was bread upon the table. My father, with his rough hands, had cut it into small, fair pieces, ensuring that each child had his share. My mother poured hot tea from a battered kettle, the steam rising like a holy benediction in the icy air. And we ate. Oh, how sweet that bread tasted! Not for its flavor, but for its scarcity, for the love with which it was divided. Not one of us complained, though hunger gnawed at our bellies and cold gnawed at our bones. Instead, we gave thanks, silently, joyfully, that we were alive and alive together. The winter tested us, as hardship always does, not merely in body but in spirit. And what I learned, pressed against my brothers and sisters in that long frozen season, was this: warmth is not merely the gift of fire or coal. True warmth, lasting warmth, comes from kinship, from the tender clasp of hands in the dark, from voices raised not in complaint but in comfort. Years rolled on, as they always do. I grew, I married, I became a father, and then a grandfather. My homes became sturdier, my blankets thicker, my stoves more reliable. I lived to see furnaces that hummed with efficiency, to see winters endured with a flick of a switch and the sigh of central heating. And yet, in the quiet hours of December, when the snow begins to fall and the streets grow hushed, my memory drifts backward, back to that house of thin walls and thinner comforts, back to the nights when my family's embrace was the only fortress we knew. And in those moments I ask myself, do my grandchildren, surrounded by conveniences we could never have dreamed of, understand what it means to huddle close for survival? Do they know the richness of a single loaf divided fairly, the miracle of a pot of tea brewed over dying embers, the sacredness of voices raised in song when the world outside is silent and cold? Perhaps not. The world has changed, and it is better, in many ways. But the lesson of that winter remains, and it is one I carry like an ember deep within me. Happiness does not depend upon abundance. Comfort does not come from plenty. It is born in the act of sharing what little we have, in the courage to endure together, and in the strength of love that neither frost nor famine can extinguish. So, my dear friends, neighbors of my own vintage, fellow travelers on this long road of life, I share this story, not to sadden, but to remind. For each of us somewhere in our past, there lies a winter, a season of trial, of want, of cold. And if we remember how we endured it, not alone but together, then perhaps we can pass that fire on to those who come after us. And if, in some quiet evening, you too find yourself recalling a time when family was your only refuge, then let us share those memories together. Let them not fade like frost in the sun, but remain shining, a testament that love, simple, steadfast love, is the truest warmth the world has ever known.